What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I will be discussing major gaming news in the industry as Microsoft has just shut down 3 studios from Bethesda: Arkane Austin, Tango Gameworks, and Dog Studios. I'll break down what this means for the industry and Xbox as a whole, and the ramifications from it. Let's get into it. So Microsoft announced the other day that they were shutting down 3 studios from ZeniMax, aka Bethesda, 2 of which were big studios, relatively big. Arkane Austin, obviously the biggest acquisition of the 3 that was shut down, as they had over 150 employees there and were the masterminds behind games such as Dishonored and Dishonored 2, as well as games like Prey, which garnered critical acclaim up until last year's disastrous launch of RedFall, which absolutely bombed. Then you have Tango Gameworks, which is just coming off of a beautiful indie darling in HiFi Rush, and they have 65 employees working there. And then you have the final one, which is Dog Games. They are more of a mobile studio, so you have 3 studios in total being closed down by Microsoft. And it's really unfortunate, and that's for a lot of reasons. First off, it just seems like Microsoft can't seem to get out of their way. Like, they have really good moments, they have great things that you could celebrate, and then they just make these crucial mistakes and crucial bad PR decisions that just look awful and really sour people's enthusiasm for the brand. And this is following a recent trend in the video game industry of all of these companies just absolutely gutting their workforce, despite successful launches of games, might I add. This isn't like, these games are bombing and you let people off. That kind of makes sense in a way, but you have Tango Gameworks, who just came out with this great game in HiFi Rush that had over 3 million players and was regarded as a success by not only the studio itself, but also the head of marketing at Xbox, Aaron Greenberg, said glowingly last year how much of a revolutionary success this game was and how much it was beloved by critics and fans alike. And yet, despite all that success, they got shut down. And it's just infuriating to see that with all of these development studios, where it's like, even if you put out a good game and a successful game, you could still get closed, and it doesn't really matter. Usually it was thought that if you make great games and people play your games and it's successful, then all is well, but I guess that's not the case. However, we did get a report from Jeff Grubb that Microsoft was unhappy with the success of, or lack thereof, success for HiFi Rush. So I guess despite Aaron Greenberg waxing poetic about the game, beneath the curtains, there was a lot of bad stuff going on, apparently. I mean, I don't know, 3 million players to me for a game that is more of an indie title, a smaller game, smaller experience. That sounds good, but obviously I don't know the spreadsheet of their finances, so unfortunately this is a bad casualty for a game that was beloved by the entire community and saw relative success. And I just want to preference here that I am not a fanboy in any sense of the word. I don't have any favoritism towards any of these companies. I love them all, honestly. I think they all bring great things to the industry. I grew up with pretty much all of the consoles. I have an Xbox Series X, I have a PS5, I have a Switch, I play games on PC, so I am very much neutral in this. I want all of them to succeed, and I'm just not into this whole tribalism kind of thing. And it's just infuriating to see this consistent lack of awareness for Microsoft regarding their PR and just their image. I mean, you had the head of Xbox Game Studios, Matt Booty, the other day coming out a day after cutting all of these studios, saying that we need smaller games that give us prestige and awards. That is exactly what he said. And you're saying this a day after you cut Tango Gameworks and shut them down, a game that literally is what you're describing. It's a smaller game that gave you a ton of prestige and awards. It won awards at the Game Awards in December. It was beloved by pretty much everyone, and you're saying this right after you cut the studio that made a game like that. It makes no sense, and it's such a lack of awareness. And you have to start looking at the top, right? Like, when it comes to RedFall, which is by Arkane Austin, the other developer that got shut down, that was a game that, in my opinion, just bombed because it was a bad game. It really had nothing to do with Microsoft, if we're being honest here. They came into RedFall after it was over halfway done in its development. That's when Microsoft acquired Bethesda. RedFall was already halfway through development, so there really wasn't too much you could do in that situation if you're Microsoft. And even the developers of RedFall said that they hoped Microsoft would cancel the game because that's how much they disliked the product they were making. So I personally believe that RedFall was more a product of bad game development and just the developers making a bad game. It's simple as that. However, you're the one who bought the studio, right? You're the one who bought Bethesda, so Microsoft will take the blame, and as they should, because that's just how it goes. When you acquire a publisher, you are now responsible, right or wrong, you are responsible for all of their games and all of the successes and failures of those games. Like RedFall on Steam, I think, had less than triple-digit players. Less than triple-digit players for a AAA game that cost you so much to make. So that closure makes a little more sense, but still, given the track record before RedFall for Arkane Austin, it's just so sad that they had to make one bad game, and that's all it took for them to get shut down, and I think they should have had a little longer of a leash considering their track record in the past. However, this just goes back to a common theme we are seeing with Microsoft, and that's that they take one step forward, and then they take a step back. And where does that lead you when you keep taking a step forward and a step back? Stagnation, and it means you stay in the same exact place you were years ago, because they had a great E3 last year in 2023. There was a lot of games announced, there was a lot of hype for the Xbox brand, and then bam, you get this news, and it's just disastrous, and it's pissed off a lot of people. And I get it, because it's like we're seeing the industry that we love get gutted, and all these studios are closing. And again, a lot of the examples of these studios are studios that have had success. So you're looking at companies like Sony, who cut off 900 people a couple of months ago in February from prominent development studios like Naughty Dog and Guerrilla Games, who just posted games like Horizon Zero Dawn. They've made Killzone. You have Naughty Dog, who obviously did Uncharted and Last of Us. These are such iconic, successful games and franchises that it's crazy that they're losing people despite their success. So you just wonder where it's going to end, if it's going to end with the layoffs and all the studios getting closed. And it's really tragic for Xbox in general, because they don't have a lot of Japanese studios and Japanese support, and that's something they've been working on since the 360 era. Trying to get Japanese developers on board. Obviously, they have Kojima making a game, but you have this good studio in Tango Gameworks. It's a smaller studio, but it's pumping out really good quality titles, and you cut them. It makes no sense. It really hurts the position of Xbox, and they better hope that they have a killer E3 showcase, because that's the only way I could see them taking off the pressure of the fan base and the critics and everyone like that, because right now it's not looking good for them. And I feel like a lot of these companies are being short-sighted, trying to maximize their profit margins, despite the fact that as a whole, these companies are way in the green. They are making hand over fist every single year, and as someone who's in marketing and business, I totally understand the need to balance out your spreadsheet and balance out your losses and all of that, and please shareholders, I get it. But when you're companies that are constantly posting high profits every single year, and you're going to cut a game studio that has been doing very successful things for you, it is short-sighted, because now you're losing that talent. Now you're losing that pipeline of future projects and games that could make you money and could be the next flash in the pan that gets you a massive, successful game that sells tens of millions of copies. You're losing that potential because you want to please the shareholders and you want to just increase your margins for the next fiscal quarter, and it's unfortunate. So, as someone who's a marketing person and a business person, I get it, but I think they're being really short-sighted here, and I think it will cost these companies down the line when they realize that the talent in their studios isn't there because they got rid of all of them. So in closing, I think this whole situation is unfortunate. It sucks. It's a bad look for Microsoft. It's a bad look for Phil Spencer, the head of Microsoft, even though I've been a huge supporter of him. He has been taking a lot of losses lately, and the industry as a whole has been taking a lot of losses, and I hope that it levels out and we could just continue to get amazing games, because that's the sad part, is that the last 2 years, 2023 and the start of 2024, it's been great for games. We've gotten hit after hit after hit from all these studios, big and small games, and yet we're going through the biggest layoff and studio closure in video game history, and it's just so tragic. I hope it improves and we can continue to just enjoy these amazing games from these amazing developers. And I guess the next big thing is E3 in a month or so. So hopefully that'll be the positive thing that gamers could get behind, and we could start moving on to brighter prospects in the years to come. So that's really all I have for you guys today. Thanks for tuning in. Give me your thoughts on the whole situation below, and give a like, subscription, comment, all of that stuff. It helps the channel out when you're really small like me. So thanks again for tuning in, and I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.